The Bedford County Courthouse was built in 1828 at a time when NeoClassical Architecture was the standard for government buildings throughout the United States. Chances are good if you have a courthouse in your county built between 1790 and 1850, it's a neoclassical design. To fully understand neoclassical architecture, it helps to know a little bit about the United States Constitution.
Our Constitution is the supreme law of the United States. Revolutionary? Yes. But it wasn't created in a vacuum. The ideals from two ancient civilizations were key influences on the development of our Constitution. The democracy of Greece and the Republic of Rome had a profound effect on the establishment of our government. And that is why elements from these two civilizations are so prominent on many of our government buildings. Let's start with the Greeks. Here's a picture of the Greek Parthenon as it exists today atop the Acropolis, a hill overlooking Athens, Greece. It's a bit of a fixer-upper, but this original is about 2,500 years old. There is actually a replica of the Parthenon right here in the U.S. Here it is. A replica of the Greek Parthenon was built in Nashville, Tennessee, about 100 years ago. Notice the prominent triangle at the top, that's a pediment. And notice those prominent columns. The columns hold up the pediment and form the covered entrance called a portico. Greek. The Greeks built using squares, rectangles, and triangles, except of course for those columns. Roman architecture was influenced by the early Greeks, but the Romans created their own distinctive look by adding curves and circles to the mix, creating features like arches, domes, and round walls. Neoclassical designs are a blend of Greek and Roman elements. Buildings like the U.S. Capitol, the White House in Washington, D.C. with its famous Oval Office, the Supreme Court building, state capitals and county courthouses across America.
And this brings us to our own little slice of Greek and Roman influence on a small town scale, the Bedford County Courthouse. Notice the pediment, the obvious columns. Inside the pediment, you'll see that arched window. That's a fan light hearkening back to the Roman arch. And atop the Bedford County Courthouse is a gold-painted dome. Bedford County's courthouse was built by a man named Solomon Filler at a total cost of $7,500. Filler also built a number of other buildings around town that you can see, including the Presbyterian Church across the street. He also built the Bedford Springs Hotel. And now for a bonus feature about columns.
From our studios atop Acropolis Hill in Artemis, Pennsylvania, it's Column Time! Everything you always wanted to know about columns, but were afraid to ask, here's your host, Nick Alexander!
Welcome, thrill seekers, to another episode of Column Talk. We begin this episode with a cautionary tale for young men pitching woo. This is Jack and Mandy on their first date. Everything is going fine until suddenly the conversation turns to columns. Let's roll the tape.
Where's the food?
It's taking forever. Thank you for showing me your wonderful town, Jack. What kind of columns are those in front of the courthouse? They're Doric, right?
Round?
Oh, what a tragic web we weave when column styles we don't perceive. But then Jack discovered episode 1 of Column Talk. Let's take a look.
There are two major factors that should be considered when identifying Greek columns. First, the ratio, that is the height compared to the width. Thicker columns have a rise of 6:1. These are masculine order. The more slender feminine order has a rise of 8:1, and these are feminine columns. The second identifying feature is the top of the column. This is called a caput or caput. It means head. For example, a Jerry Garcia disciple in the days of ancient Rome would have been called a caput mortuum. There are three classic orders of Greek columns. The earliest is the masculine Doric order. A Doric order column has a ratio of 6:1, 6 feet in height for every 1 foot in diameter. The rise is thick and stocky, like a man. As for the top, or caput, it is simple and plain, like most men. The second is a feminine column, an Ionic order column. This column has a more slender rise, and at the top, a slightly decorative caput. The scrolls or ringlets on each side of an Ionic order column are called volutes. You'll also find a volute atop a violin, or for those of you raised on barn dances, a fiddle. The third column style is also feminine, a Corinthian order column. It features the same slender rise of an Ionic column, but has a much more complicated or ornate top, decorated with leaves, volutes, and other decorative carvings. These are the three classic Greek order columns: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian.
You know, I prefer the more feminine line and volute top of the Ionic column. The Corinthian caput is just too Baroque.
I feel that way too. Oh, Jack.
Oh, Kara. Thanks, Column Talk.
Congratulations, Jack. Well, that's our show for today. Be sure to join us next time on Column Talk.
You'll see the influence of Greece and Rome on buildings throughout the United States. A classic example on a small town scale is the Bedford County Courthouse.